Welcome to English Practice Hub. In this video, you'll not only improve your English listening skills, but also understand one of the most fascinating books ever written about power, psychology, and human desire, The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. This book explains how attraction works, how charm becomes influence, and how subtle behavior can shape relationships, business, and leadership. Seduction, in Greene's words, is not only about romance. It's the art of persuasion, the ability to move people emotionally and mentally. Listen carefully, follow the rhythm, and imagine the stories as they unfold. If you enjoy this kind of learning, make sure to follow English Practice Hub for the next episodes in this series. Now let's begin. Robert Greene opens the book by describing seduction as an ancient form of power. From Cleopatra to Napoleon, from Casanova to modern celebrities, people who master emotional influence rule quietly but completely. Physical beauty or money help, but true seduction comes from psychology, from the ability to make others feel special, desired, or understood. Seduction starts with attention. You cannot seduce someone who is not looking at you. Greene says every interaction begins with fascination. The first step is to awaken curiosity. Great seducers stand out slightly from their surroundings. They are confident but not arrogant, mysterious but not distant. They create a small emotional gap that invites others to move closer. Greene divides humanity into two types, the seducers and the seduced. Seducers live by imagination. They turn ordinary moments into drama. The seduced live by routine. They wait to be entertained. Most people want escape from boredom. The seducer provides that escape. Throughout history, the best seducers have used indirect communication. They don't argue or demand. They suggest, imply, and let others fill the silence with fantasy. Cleopatra never begged Caesar or Antony. She simply appeared unforgettable. Napoleon wrote love letters that mixed power with vulnerability. Casanova listened more than he spoke. Each used emotion as a tool of control. Greene lists several archetypes: the siren, the rake, the ideal lover, the dandy, the natural, the coquette, and the charmer. Each represents a style of attraction. The siren uses sensuality. The rake uses passion. The ideal lover mirrors the dreams of the target. The dandy seduces through independence. The natural disarms with innocence. The coquette creates desire by withholding attention. The charmer wins through warmth and understanding. He also explains that seduction always begins with observation. Before acting, a seducer studies the target's emotions, insecurities, and desires. Everyone wants to feel something missing: admiration, adventure, comfort, or validation. The moment you identify what they lack, you hold the key to their heart. Seduction is never direct conquest. It is a dance between distance and closeness, action and patience. Greene writes, "To seduce is to move people by slowly shifting their emotions, leading them to act in your favor while believing it is their own idea." In this opening section, Greene warns the reader, seduction is powerful but dangerous. If used selfishly, it destroys trust. If used with awareness, it becomes a form of art, the ability to inspire, motivate, and connect. He concludes the first part with a statement that sets the tone for the rest of the book. Those who master seduction master life itself, because they understand what drives human behavior, emotion, not reason. Robert Greene explains that everyone has a seductive quality, but most people never discover it because they are too focused on logic, not emotion. In this part, he presents the main seductive archetypes, each representing a different form of emotional power. These are timeless characters found in history, literature, and everyday life. The people who attract attention without effort and make others act against their own reason. The first type is the siren. This character uses voice, movement, and presence to create sensual fascination. Cleopatra, Marilyn Monroe, and modern celebrities like Beyoncé represent this type. They embody confidence in their own allure and make others feel drawn by a promise of pleasure. The siren's power lies in contrast, being calm when others are tense, slow when others rush. The key technique is to become the center of attention through stillness, beauty, and control. Next comes the rake. The rake is pure passion, overflowing with desire. Think of Giacomo Casanova, the famous Venetian lover. He made every woman feel unique, desired as if she were the only person in the world. The rake's power is intensity. He is not afraid to chase, flatter, and adore. But this passion is a performance. It seduces by showing others how deeply they could be desired, even if only for a moment. Then there is the ideal lover, who seduces through fantasy. This type studies the target carefully and becomes whatever they long for. Greene explains that most people are disappointed with reality. The ideal lover gives them a dream. He or she listens, observes, and mirrors their secret desires. Historical examples include painters, poets, and even politicians who made others believe in an ideal version of life. The dandy seduces through freedom and self-sufficiency. The dandy doesn't follow rules. He or she mixes masculine and feminine traits, confident and mysterious. Greta Garbo, David Bowie, and Oscar Wilde had this quality. They seem to belong to no one and nothing. People are drawn to them because they represent what others secretly wish to be, independent and authentic. The natural wins through spontaneity and innocence. This type reminds others of youth and play. People feel relaxed, unjudged, and open around them. Charles Chaplin and Josephine Baker were masters of this charm. Their secret was authenticity. They didn't fake emotions, they exaggerated them. The natural's laughter, curiosity, and warmth dissolve resistance. The coquette is the master of delay. This character creates desire by holding back. Instead of giving attention freely, the coquette alternates between warmth and distance, creating emotional tension. This is the power of anticipation. Madame de Pompadour, the mistress of King Louis XV, used this perfectly. She kept him fascinated not by surrender, but by keeping him chasing. The charmer is gentle and diplomatic. The charmer avoids conflict and gives others a feeling of harmony and confidence. They make people feel comfortable and understood. Franklin D. Roosevelt, for example, calmed a fearful nation with his charm and optimism. The charmer's technique is empathy, making others feel seen and safe. The charismatic is another powerful type. Charisma mixes confidence, purpose, and passion. People follow charismatic figures not because of beauty or manipulation, but because they seem to radiate meaning. Religious leaders, revolutionaries, and inspiring teachers all use this energy. Greene says charisma grows from belief. When you truly believe in something, people feel it. Greene emphasizes that you don't have to be born as one type. Everyone has a natural inclination, but true seduction comes from awareness. Once you know which type fits you, you can develop it. The key is authenticity. Pretending destroys the effect. Real seduction feels effortless because it aligns with your personality. The purpose of this section is not to turn you into a manipulator, but to teach you emotional intelligence. Seduction is about connection, about recognizing what people crave and giving it to them in a graceful way. Greene's seductive types are mirrors of universal human desires, to be admired, loved, excited, or understood. He ends this part with a warning. Do not try to become all types at once. Choose one that fits your nature and perfect it until it becomes instinct. Understanding these archetypes is like understanding languages of emotion. Once you learn to speak them fluently, you can move people not by logic, but by feeling. Robert Greene now moves from character to action. After explaining who seducers are, he shows how seduction unfolds. Every successful seduction, he says, follows a predictable psychological journey. It is not a single act, but a process. one that begins with attention and ends with emotional dependency. The first step is choosing the right target. Seduction is not for everyone. Some people are too self-contained, too practical, or too self-satisfied to be moved emotionally. Greene says a good target is someone who secretly feels incomplete, someone who longs for excitement, admiration, or rescue. The seducer looks for emotional gaps. This is not cruelty, it's awareness. You cannot move a heart that feels nothing. Once the target is chosen, the next stage is creating fascination. The seducer must stand out in a subtle way. Instead of loudness or beauty, Greene emphasizes presence. A seductive presence is calm and self-assured. It makes people curious without revealing too much. Mystery is your ally. When people can't figure you out, they think about you more. The mind fills silence with imagination, and imagination is the beginning of desire. After curiosity comes emotional engagement. The seducer enters the target's world, listens deeply, and mirrors their desires. People fall in love not with you, but with how they feel when they are with you. The seducer understands this and becomes the mirror of the other person's dream. That's why Greene says, the perfect seducer is a blank canvas upon which others project their fantasies. Once connection is made, the seducer must create confusion and tension. Desire thrives on uncertainty. If everything feels predictable, interest fades. So the seducer mixes warmth with coolness, presence with absence. They might send a message and then disappear, give attention and then withdraw. This emotional rhythm builds anticipation and obsession. Greene calls this the coquette's game, and it's one of the most powerful psychological tools in seduction. The next step is the emotional hook. This is when the target starts needing your approval. They wait for your attention. They replay your words. They miss your presence. At this stage, logic fades. Seduction becomes a dance of emotions, and the seducer must move carefully. Push too far, and suspicion appears. Move too slow, and the spell breaks. The key is timing. Greene compares this phase to fishing. The fish bites because it believes it's in control, yet every movement pulls it closer to the hook. The seducer allows small victories, a reply, a compliment, a shared secret, to make the target feel powerful. But in reality, every moment deepens their emotional dependence. After that, the seducer moves to the moment of surrender. This doesn't mean physical conquest. It means emotional trust. The target feels safe, understood, and fascinated. They open up, reveal secrets, and allow influence. Here, the seducer becomes gentle, almost comforting. Greene writes that true seduction doesn't rush to the climax. It prolongs it, because the waiting itself is addictive. Finally, the seducer must maintain the illusion. After victory, most people grow careless. The seducer doesn't. They protect the dream. Once the target feels secure, the seducer reintroduces small doubts, new challenges, fresh adventures. In this way, fascination never dies. Greene's genius is how he reveals that seduction is not limited to romance. These same steps appear in business, politics, and leadership. A great speaker, artist, or entrepreneur seduces audiences by awakening emotion, giving them hope, and keeping them engaged. Emotional influence is universal. He summarizes the process in one sentence. Seduction is a journey from curiosity to dependency, guided by the invisible thread of emotion. Every phase matters: observation, approach, tension, surrender, and renewal. Skip one, and the spell breaks. Follow them patiently, and you can move hearts, shape choices, and inspire loyalty. Greene ends this section by reminding readers that seduction is a psychological art, not a physical one. You win not with words or appearance, but by controlling atmosphere, timing, and feeling. He concludes, seduction is not about forcing someone's will. It's about awakening what already sleeps inside them. After describing the process of emotional movement, Robert Greene begins to lay out concrete strategies, the mental habits that every successful seducer learns to use. They are not tricks. They are disciplines of awareness, patience, and control. Greene's point is that seduction works because people want to believe, not because they are forced. The following principles explain how to guide that belief. The first rule is make yourself an object of desire. People chase what seems scarce. When you show need, you lower your value. When you appear fulfilled, you attract attention. Greene advises building a sense of inner wealth, energy, curiosity, independence. The world responds to those who seem complete. You cannot seduce from emptiness. You must seduce from abundance. The second rule is send mixed signals. Human beings are addicted to contradictions. When someone is strong yet vulnerable, confident yet shy, kind yet distant, others feel a magnetic pull. The contrast keeps them guessing. It prevents boredom. Greene writes, "Too much clarity kills interest." The ideal seducer always leaves a question hanging in the air. The third rule is appear to be the prize. In every interaction, one person becomes the admirer, the other the admired. Shift the frame so that the other person feels lucky to have your attention. This is not arrogance. It is composure. Compliment with restraint. Give your attention as if it were valuable. When others sense that your focus is rare, they fight to earn it. Next comes the art of insinuation. Direct persuasion creates resistance. Suggestion bypasses reason. Greene calls this planting the seed. Instead of telling someone what to think or feel, you imply it through tone, rhythm, or story. Great seducers talk in images and emotions. They allow the listener to complete the thought. What people conclude on their own feels 10 times more convincing. Another powerful tactic is create an aura of depth. Mystery multiplies value. Never reveal all of your plans, motives, or past. A hint of secrecy stimulates imagination. The moment you explain everything, fascination dies. The seducer understands that attention feeds on uncertainty. Appear calm, unpredictable, and self-contained, like a puzzle people want to solve. Greene also emphasizes the importance of timing. Knowing when to advance and when to pause separates charm from pressure. Impatience destroys mood. Waiting builds tension, and tension creates memory. The most seductive moments often come from silence and delay, not from words. Another strategy is use absence to increase respect and desire. Presence creates comfort. Absence creates value. After giving pleasure or excitement, disappear briefly. Let the other person feel the space you leave. That distance turns attention into longing. Greene reminds the reader, withdrawal is to the emotions what sleep is to the body. It restores strength. He warns, however, that these strategies only work when driven by sincerity. People can sense manipulation. The seducer must genuinely enjoy giving pleasure, listening, and observing. The goal is connection, not conquest. Those who use these ideas only to dominate others end up exposed and alone. Greene then moves into deeper psychological territory. He says every human relationship is a negotiation between independence and surrender. Seduction succeeds when you create the illusion that surrender is freedom, that following you feels like self-expression, not submission. This is why the greatest seducers make others feel more alive, not smaller. They offer release from routine, from fear, from self-control. He also reveals that the best seducers seduce groups as easily as individuals. Politicians, actors, and leaders use the same principles: attention, mystery, rhythm, and empathy. They turn audiences into lovers. Every speech, every gesture, is a promise of transformation. Greene argues that charisma is simply mass seduction. It works through emotional atmosphere, not logic. Finally, Greene stresses self-discipline. A true seducer never becomes emotional first. They remain centered while others lose balance. They listen more than they speak. They observe more than they act. By staying calm, they make others reveal themselves. Patience, he says, is the highest form of power. He closes this section with a summary that feels like a mantra. Seduction is not aggression. It is invitation. It is not the pursuit of pleasure. It is the creation of pleasure. Through awareness, contrast, and timing, the seducer writes an invisible story in the mind of others, a story of fascination that people choose to believe. Robert Greene never pretends that seduction is innocent. In this part, he explores the darker territory, how power built on emotion can also destroy it. Seduction touches fear, dependency, jealousy, and pride. If you play carelessly, you damage others and yourself. Greene's purpose is not to moralize, but to warn. Every art has a shadow. The first danger is using seduction without empathy. When you see people only as targets, you lose perspective. The manipulator treats affection as a weapon and ends up isolated. Greene explains that charm, without compassion, turns quickly into cruelty. A real seducer must stay aware of boundaries. The goal is attraction, not harm. The second danger is addiction to attention. Seducers live through admiration, and admiration can become a drug. When applause fades, they panic and create new drama to feel alive again. History is full of artists, leaders, and lovers who destroyed themselves chasing that high. Greene advises learning to withdraw, to find satisfaction in silence and solitude. Another trap is believing your own performance. The mask of charm can grow so tight that you forget it's a mask. You start acting instead of feeling. People sense the emptiness and pull away. The seducer who loses authenticity becomes mechanical. Their words sound calculated. Greene calls this the decay of sincerity. The only cure is to return to genuine curiosity, to seduce because you enjoy connection, not because you need control. Greene then explains the psychology of resistance. Every target secretly wants to be seduced, but also fears it. This fear produces guilt and defensiveness. If you push too fast, you awaken their moral armor. They accuse, rationalize, or withdraw. The skillful seducer respects that tension. They move slowly enough to let the target justify every step as their own choice. That self-justification is what keeps the spell alive. A deeper danger comes from power imbalance. The more emotional influence you gain, the greater the temptation to dominate. Greene warns that obsession with control leads to mutual destruction. When one person tries to own the other completely, the relationship becomes war. True power lies in giving freedom, not taking it. The moment your partner feels trapped, desire dies. He describes how jealousy feeds this cycle. The seducer, afraid of losing control, begins to spy, test, or punish. But jealousy is poison. It exposes insecurity and destroys the graceful illusion that made seduction possible. The only defense is confidence, knowing that attraction cannot be forced, only inspired. Another subtle risk is emotional exhaustion. Playing with feelings demands energy. Constant performance, manipulation, and reading others can drain your spirit. Greene advises retreat. Every seducer needs moments of stillness to recover empathy and creativity. Without rest, charm becomes routine and loses power. He also examines the moral reaction of society. Seducers often face judgment because they disturb order. They remind people of the power of emotion, which institutions fear. Religion, politics, and even families have tried to suppress seduction through shame. Yet, as Greene points out, you cannot eliminate seduction, you can only hide it. It is part of human nature, the energy behind art, conversation, and ambition. The challenge is to use it wisely. The last and most personal danger is falling in love with your victim. The seducer begins with control but ends up captivated. Because emotions are contagious, pretending often becomes feeling. You mirror desire so perfectly that it catches you too. Then you lose balance, and the other person holds the power. Greene writes, "The hunter becomes the hunted." To prevent this, maintain self-awareness. Never lose sight of your motives. Seduction is a game of mirrors. You must always know which reflection is yours. In this part, Greene's tone is darker, more reflective. He wants the reader to see seduction as a dangerous tool, one that must be handled like fire. It can light or burn, depending on discipline. He ends with a warning and a paradox. The more you respect emotion, the more control you gain over it. The more you abuse emotion, the faster it turns against you. Power without empathy collapses. Influence without balance consumes itself. The master seducer understands limits and moves within them gracefully. Robert Greene now moves to the final evolution of the seducer, the person who has gone beyond strategy and performance to become naturally magnetic. This kind of mastery no longer focuses on manipulating others, but on mastering oneself. A true seducer, Greene says, is not chasing power anymore. They are power, calm, centered, and emotionally aware. The transformation begins with self-knowledge. The master seducer understands their strengths and weaknesses without judgment. They know when to speak and when to stay silent, when to give and when to withdraw. This awareness creates confidence that feels effortless. People sense inner balance and are drawn to it. Greene writes, "The most seductive quality in the world is composure." Self-control, however, does not mean repression. It means directing your emotions instead of being ruled by them. The master seducer feels deeply but chooses when and how to express it. Their emotions are instruments, not accidents. When they show affection, it feels sincere. When they withdraw, it feels mysterious. Each gesture seems intentional. Next comes emotional generosity. After years of learning how to influence others, the master seducer turns that skill toward connection. They listen without impatience, give without calculation, and comfort without judgment. This warmth separates them from manipulators. It's the difference between power used for control and power used for harmony. Greene insists that charm built on kindness is the highest form of seduction. He explains that the final stage of power is paradoxical. You stop trying to impress. The novice seducer performs. The master seducer simply is. They no longer chase attention because attention now chases them. This quiet confidence is the ultimate magnet. To reach that level, Greene suggests mastering 3 inner disciplines. 1. Emotional distance. You must be able to step outside of your feelings and observe them. That perspective gives freedom. When you can watch your emotions instead of obeying them, you stop being reactive. People around you feel safer, calmer, and more open. 2. Adaptability. Every situation demands a different energy, playful, serious, mysterious, or kind. The master seducer adjusts tone like a musician changes rhythm. This flexibility comes not from faking, but from empathy, the ability to sense what others need and meet them halfway. 3. Patience. Greene repeats one of his favorite ideas. The essence of seduction is time. Nothing lasting can be rushed. Whether it's a conversation, a project, or a relationship, the seductive approach is slow and deliberate. Quick moves excite but fade. Gradual tension endures. He gives historical examples of people who reached this level of mastery. Cleopatra, Benjamin Disraeli, Mata Hari, and Charles de Gaulle. Each combined intellect, charm, and emotional control. They made others feel chosen, but they were never enslaved by their own desires. Their power came from self-possession. Greene also highlights detachment from outcome. The master seducer acts gracefully without clinging to results. Whether the target yields or not, they remain unshaken. That lack of need is hypnotic. It signals independence, and independence breeds fascination. He explains, the moment you stop caring too much, people start caring for you. Desire feeds on uncertainty, and nothing creates uncertainty like calm indifference. This doesn't mean coldness. It means quiet confidence that your worth doesn't depend on others' approval. In this final stage, seduction becomes philosophy, a way of moving through the world with sensitivity and control. The master seducer transforms ordinary interactions into art. They influence not by command, but by atmosphere. When they enter a room, energy changes. When they speak, people listen. Greene warns that this power comes with responsibility. The stronger your influence, the greater your duty to use it wisely. The true master doesn't leave people broken or humiliated. They leave them inspired, alive, and more self-aware. He concludes this part with a reflection that feels like a closing line to the entire book. Seduction is the language of life itself: attraction, rhythm, creation, destruction, renewal. To master it is not to conquer others, but to understand them. The ultimate seduction, Greene says, is not between two people. It is between you and life, learning to dance with uncertainty, to charm difficulty, and to shape your own destiny through awareness and emotion. You've just listened to the full summary of The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene, one of the most fascinating books ever written about human psychology and emotional power. If you want to keep improving your English while learning ideas that change how you think, subscribe to English Practice Hub and stay connected. In the next episodes, we'll explore more of Robert Greene's works and other timeless books on power, mindset, and behavior. Remember, knowledge is attractive, awareness is powerful, and calm confidence is the highest form of charm. Thank you for listening to English Practice Hub, where learning English also means learning life.